It was the search for faith that drove Muhammad up to a mountain cave where he would receive God's revelation. It was the search for truth that led Siddhartha to abandon the life of a prince for that of an ascetic. It was through trust in God that Abraham was prepared to sacrifice his son on the altar. And it was the search for a future to believe in that drove the Israelites through the Red Sea and into freedom. These stories still resonate with us today because we are all looking for something to believe in. We want desperately to believe, to hope, to find meaning where others find none. My own search for faith began growing up in a Muslim Egyptian American home, in a religious tradition that has at its core the values of tolerance, human dignity, peace, diversity, justice, and love. My eyes were first opened to the idea of religious pluralism through the Islamic concept of the people of the book, the Christians and Jews who are given a special status in Islam because they too have received scriptures from God. From there came the appreciation of all faiths and creeds that shared the basic human principles upon which I was raised. God says in the Quran, "O mankind, behold, we have created you all out of a male and a female, and have made you into nations and tribes, so that you may come to know and cherish one another." So there is a reason for our diversity, and it is not to convert or preach, but to learn, understand, and grow. Joining the Interfaith Council at USC and engaging in meaningful dialogue and service became ways in which I could strengthen my own faith by viewing it through the prism that unites all faiths. In a world where religion is accused of being a source of violence, interfaith work, while celebrating our differences, reminds us of our many common goals: the eradication of hunger, poverty, disease, corruption. We all have friends outside of our own religion. But how often do we engage each other in meaningful discussion around the topic of faith? How often do we ask, "What do you believe?" And more importantly, how does that belief translate itself into action? By exploring these questions, we strike at the innermost part of our souls. And we find that not all Christians will give us the same answer, nor will all Jews or Muslims or atheists. We find that we may have more in common with someone of another faith than one of our own. That is the personal value of interfaith work. We strengthen our respective identities as Jains, Catholics, Hindus, searchers, but we also proclaim that these labels are no longer sufficient. I can say I am a Muslim, but I can no longer satisfy myself with that answer. To me, Islam is a way of life, so I must ask myself how it affects my everyday decisions, my general attitude towards life. What drives me to study, to strive, to serve, to smile, to laugh? Not until I have struggled, argued, despaired, and returned can I begin to claim that I have faith. The Quran recounts the story of a group of non-believers who adopt Islam and come to the Prophet proclaiming, "We have believed." The Prophet replies, "No, say you have become Muslim, but faith has yet to enter into your hearts." There lies the distinction between the label and the deeper journey. And as we each embark on our own path, we find that it is more important to justify our belief to ourselves than to others. As the webcomic artist wrote, "A million people can call the mountains a fiction, but it need not trouble you as you stand atop them." For our generation, exclusivism seems obsolete. No one can claim to hold the sole monopoly on truth. I firmly believe in the teachings of the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, but my religion commands that I find meaning and value in other religions as well. find beauty in the Bible's call to love, richness in the history of Jewish traditions, beauty in the musicality of the Sikh kirtan, peace in Buddhism's call to compassion, and wonder in the stories of the Bhagavad Gita. As the Sufi mystic wrote, "Now my heart has grown capable of taking on many forms, a pasture for gazelles, a convent for the Christians, a temple for idols, a Kaaba for the pilgrim, a table for the Torah. My religion is love. Whichever route love's caravan shall take, that also shall be the path of my faith." So let us not be afraid to open up to the various traditions and ideologies that surround us. Let us not hesitate to explore how these might shed light on our own beliefs. And let us not shrink away from questioning and testing our very own faith. Young as we are, we love to challenge and debate, which are absolutely essential. Just as we cannot know happiness until we have known sorrow, we cannot have faith until it has been tested. And it is during those tests, when we are at the darkest points and are able to look beyond them into the coming day, that we find peace in the affirmation of our faith. This hope and optimism are the practical manifestations of belief, of trust in God and in our own futures. To despair, for me, is to reject God's claim in the Quran when he says, "We will never burden a soul with more than it is able to bear." To lose hope is to reject the divine biblical claim, "Perfect love drives out fear." And to refuse to see the beauty of this world, often governed by the cruelest principles of survival of the fittest, is to reject Darwin's claim that even so, there is grandeur in this view of life. That faith is to stand in Tintern Abbey, as William Wordsworth did, and know, as he wrote, "Neither evil tongues, nor rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life shall ever prevail against us, or disturb our cheerful faith that all which we hold is full of blessings." And as we stand in the present world as it is, we must be filled, he says, not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with pleasing thoughts that in this moment there is life and food for future years. And so I dare to hope. He dares to hope. Hope is, by its very nature, an act of defiance. It is not simple, it is not easy, it is not born out of ignorance and naivete. It is born out of the ashes of doubt, of despair, of trial, of some kind of suffering at any level, hidden or exposed in whatever way we experience it. Happiness is to be fully cognizant of this suffering, the injustice, the corruption that plagues our world, and to nevertheless stare down those cruel realities and in rebellion exclaim, "I still dare to hope." Because this is not it. This can be better. And we each have the responsibility and the ability to make it better. And this service, this commitment to something greater than ourselves, is our faith in practice. So I pray that we, the USC Class of 2011, have the power to do that. The force to explore our inner faith, the passion to pursue our own unique path, and the courage to ensure that our conviction becomes action. So dare to dream, dare to believe, dare to hope. Congratulations, Trojans. Thank you.
Thank you you, Sarrah, for sharing your inspiring interfaith journey with us this evening. I had the honor of getting to know Sarrah Shahawy over the last 3 years, as she was the president of USC's Student Interfaith Council and the founder of USC's Ansar Service Partnership, the first Muslim student organization in the United States focused on interfaith community service. Sarrah challenges us to think about how faith emerges from struggle and manifests as hope. And her own life example is a testament to the power of faith when combined with hard work, vision, and skill. Sarrah graduates from USC as a double major in French and biological sciences, and tomorrow morning we'll have the pleasure of hearing her eloquent words again when she gives the student valedictorian address at commencement. In the fall, Sarrah will enroll at Harvard Medical School, where she will follow in her family's extraordinary tradition of medical and religious service. As Sarrah leaves USC, she will take the hopes and aspirations of all of you with her, as will each and every one of you. And speaking of faith this evening, I'm reminded of an old joke about a prize fighter in the boxing ring. He's getting pummeled by his opponent. His mother is in the audience, watching him get beaten to a pulp. She turns to the priest sitting next to her, and she says, Father, please pray for him." And the priest says to her, "I will, but if he could punch, it would help." In this ring of life, may we all keep the faith. May we all continue to punch, and may we all continue to fight on. I now ask that all graduating students please rise. Let's hear it for the graduating students.